In this example, I'm going to use the quadratic formula to solve the equation 3x squared minus 5x plus 1 equals 0. Now before we go ahead and assign what a, b, and c are and actually start plugging things into the formula, it's absolutely critical to make sure that we have all of the terms on one side so that we have a quadratic equals 0. It has to be in that format before we can start using the formula to solve the equation. Now to use it, all we're going to take are the coefficients for each term. Not the whole term, just the number part in front. So for this first one, we see that a is equal to 3. B is equal to negative 5. And C is equal to 1. Now again, before we assign these, not only do we need to make sure that everything is on one side, but we want to make sure that they're in descending order, meaning that we have the x squared term, then the x term, then the constant term. That way the numbers match the a, b, and c that we need for the formula to work. Now it's just a matter of plugging them in and simplifying. The quadratic formula says that the answers for x, when we solve this, will be equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, this whole thing over 2a. And it's important to note that it's the entire thing over 2a, not just the radical, and definitely not just the stuff inside the radical. The entire top divided by 2a. Now, to do this, all we're going to do is start plugging in values. So for our example, we have x equal to, well, b is negative 5. So we want the opposite, or negative 5, plus or minus this long square root here. So b squared, again, b is negative 5, so negative 5 squared minus 4 times a in this example is 3, so 4 times 3 times c here is 1. So times 1. And all of that is under our radical. Now we want everything we just wrote, this entire amount, all over 2 times a, which again is 3. So x will equal all of this. This is too much to write down. We want to simplify it as much as possible, but without going to decimals. We want to leave it exact, just in its simplest form. Let me move this up so that I've got some more room here to work with. This is the quantity we have. This is what we need to work with. So, first off, let's start dealing with what we know. The opposite of negative 5 is just going to be positive 5. So let's make that 5 plus or minus. Now we'll start simplifying the stuff inside the radical. Negative 5 squared is going to be the amount positive 25. We want that to be minus, we have 4 times 3 times 1, which is 12. That whole amount over 2 times 3, which is 6. Next up, let's simplify the stuff inside the radical so that we end up with 5 plus or minus the square root of, well, 25 minus 12 is the amount 13. So we end up with 13 inside the radical. 5 plus or minus the square root of 13, that whole amount over 6. And those are our answers. This tells us that x is equal to these two numbers. And though we write them together, do realize that we are talking about two different values here. We have 5 plus the square root of 13 over 6, and 5 minus the square root of 13, that over 6. So that it was easier to write it in its condensed form, we do actually have two answers here. And that's using the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation.